Hi there, you're with Simon at English Coach, and today we're talking about the psychology of influence and the 6 principles of the psychology of influence and how they affect your life. One of the things that I found very interesting about the psychology of influence is that 99% of people are influenced or affected by it. Therefore, if you understand these rules and you understand what they mean to you in your life, what impacts they could have on your life, it therefore gives you the freedom to be able to change or act in a different way when faced with situations that present the red flags of you being influenced, psychologically influenced. So let's go through those 6 now, okay? The first one I want to talk about is scarcity, and that is fear of there not being enough or fear of loss. This is something that most of us have, the great majority of us has, and it has some incredible impacts on our lives, for better or for worse. My personal opinion is that scarcity is this primal fear that comes from when we were cave people and we had to survive in a world with more predators, when life was more uncertain. We had to have 20 children, each pair had to have 20 children, just so that 20% of them would survive and carry on our genes. So scarcity is this emotional fear that there's not enough, that we're going to lose out, and it's, in my opinion, it's very primal. The second one is reciprocity. Reciprocity is from the Robert Cialdini book, The Psychology of Influence, giving first to get later, or giving first to set a standard for the kind of business you want to do with that person in the future. It's a really positive thing generally. In the book, Robert Cialdini talks about you either being a smuggler of influence or a sleuth. Now, if you're a sleuth, you're providing something of value, and you're attracting business, and you're attracting new clients and customers because you're giving people that opportunity to see what you're offering. So in my opinion, it's extremely positive and it's extremely practical. And of course, when we look at social proof, which is the third one, where most people tend to follow something that is already popular, and they have this fear of being left out, or they have this fear of not being included. Therefore, they pursue where most people are going. When we're talking about products and even restaurants, people tend to follow what other people do. And so reciprocity is very, very important, so that you can prove that you have something to offer the market, and build that social proof when it's actually quite difficult to do. Now, the fourth one, or the third one actually, because I skipped to social proof, is authority. And authority is having a name for yourself, or having a reputation, which can be in many different aspects, can be applied in many different aspects. The first aspect is, how long has your business been run for? How long has your business been alive? Is it a 5-year-old business? Is it a 10-year-old business? Generally, the older it is, the more authority these business owners have. Not only have they survived in the market, but probably, or most certainly, they have had to change with the times. So obviously they're offering something more tangible, and that's why it's a lot more difficult for startups, for example. So authority can be from that perspective of a long life business. It can also be from the perspective of a certificate, a qualification that you have, studies that you've done, things that you've published. This gives you authority, okay? Gives you authority. People can see this. People can put their faith into this. Basically, it's as simple as that, okay? Going back to social proof again, the fear of being left out, or the fear of being rejected or ostracized or not being included. This is very strong in people as well. There's always this idea that people would rather get into a long line outside a restaurant which is completely full and ignore the neighboring other two restaurants which are half empty, because there has to be something magical or something better about the restaurant with more people. And of course, there's a few little things that can really make a difference. For example, if a restaurant has a high turnover, the food tends to be fresher because they have to buy it on a higher frequency and prepare it more quickly than a restaurant that is going very slowly. So a restaurant that is going very slowly could have full fridges for example, or could have full pantries, and that food's just sitting there for a few weeks before you get it. Whereas in a busy restaurant, you're getting it straight away. But I guess the real question is, how do you start that off? How do you start that off? And that probably brings us to our next one, which is likability. And likability is that ability of yours to get people to like you or your business, be it a restaurant, be it a product, be it you yourself, you're selling you. Likability is that skill of connecting with others, giving them that warm feeling, making them feel good about themselves, and using things like rapport, which can be often described as mirroring or finding things in common with that person. Okay, in general, just to sum it up in a nutshell, empathy in general. Okay. The last one is probably the most important one as far as the market goes, because people really want to trust you, or they want to be able to trust your product, and that is consistence. Now we're going to talk about consistence from the market perspective, from the customers, and from the people that are offering the product or the service. Now, people that are offering the product or the service, in this case, that they be consistent and that they offer a good service or a good product on a regular basis, that it's a standard, it's a benchmark, people can trust that. There's a bit of reliability in that. Now, talking about this from a completely different angle is the customers, the people that are buying from other people that are buying these products and these services. Often when we're talking about marketing, and they are either buying something online or they're buying something that they see on paper, consistence is that habit of people to continue to do the same thing, to repeat what they have done in the past. So if they bought something at one place and there was a special deal done in a special way that attracted them, they're going to be attracted again and again and again by the same deal. It sounds funny, it sounds predictable, it sounds like the person is kind of destined to follow the same path, and it is, but most people have this. And I would connect that same habit to social proof, where people have that habit of following. So it's the consistency and the social proof that make people more vulnerable. Now, our challenge through this issue, or through the subject of the psychology of influence, is to be able to change our own minds, apply these things to our own benefit without trying to trick anyone outright, but by looking at our own interests and looking at, how am I living my life? Can I actually use these principles to change something? Am I being tricked by scarcity? Am I using reciprocity as a tool in my business? You need to ask yourself this. Am I an authority of what I do? Do I need to get myself a certificate? Do I need to do something to prove myself to my potential clients? Social proof. What kind of following do I have? How can I expand that following? Likability. Do I need to develop charisma? Do I need to understand what is rapport? Do I need to create empathy? Okay. Consistence. How are people using my business? How are people usually getting in touch with me? What is their habit? What is that habit that they can't put down, that they can't let go of? Let's use that habit. Okay, so these are a few things for you to think about today and during the rest of your week and month. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.